This WebEx will be also recorded, so if you have any connection problem at any moment, do not feel stressed, because you will be able to, let's say, watch it afterwards. Sorry for my voice, I have a bit of a cold today, so you will not hear me like screaming as usual. So, but anyway, Daniel is here as well, so if I if I lose my voice, Daniel will jump in and will help us. So yeah, the structure of the session, I'm going to basically, this is a session to explain the UE2 strategy planning and program management for budget formulation. It's a refresher, particularly designed for special political missions. And as I said, we're part of the UMOJA coordination service, and both Daniel and I will be here during the morning, trying to assist. The agenda for these sessions, you know, there are 2 days. One is today, and the other one will be tomorrow. And the idea for today is basically have an introduction to BPC, which is a tool that we are using for budget formulation. It's part of the SAP solution of UMOJA. We will have a navigation demo, so we will explain to you how to access if you are new to the system. We will give you some time also to try your credentials in production, so at least you know if you have any issue. We can see if you have issue with your credentials, and then you can contact New York. And then we will have explanation of the position form and corresponding demonstration. And we will see the main scenarios for that form. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to be sending credentials to the training environment for your missions, so you can also practice a bit, and we will remain available for support. This is basically the structure of the day today. Tomorrow at the same time, we will have an overview on the summary forms. We will have a demonstration on summary 9 and a demonstration on summary 3, and as well we will give you time to perform some exercises that we will be sending to you. All right, so this is the plan for these refresher sessions. And let me continue with the presentation. So before anything, I want to give you a short explanation about what roles we were targeting for this training. Okay, and probably you should have one of these roles or some others that are assigned, but those are the main ones that we want to discuss, because the level of implementation we are achieving at this moment, we are going to be using the form that I have mentioned in the agenda. And for that, we have the role BF09, sub-entity non-position planner. You have to pay attention to the description. It says non-position, BF09, while BF10 is position planner. So BF09, which is non-position planner, will have read and write access to summary planning on commitment item. Okay, so we are going to be doing all the planning for whatever is not related to staffing or positions. Okay, we will do at commitment item, subclass or class level. Okay, typically at commitment item, and we will have access to the version L1 internal proposal. We will see later when we discuss these forms. This is just to mention the roles. Otherwise, you can have, if you are involved on the position planning, you will have BF10 at sub-entity level. Okay, which is basically at the cost center level. And you should have read and write access to plan position tables. Okay, and then we have the role BF11, which is the reviewer approver. Okay, and this one will have access to the models at sub-entity level within an entity, and have authority to approve L1 internal proposal. We will see later, if you are not familiar with the versions, we will see in the following slides what do we mean by L1 and L2. So basically, those are the 3 roles that are the main target of this session. Okay, If you have other role but you have been invited to this session, do not worry, just pay attention, have an overview of what we are going to explain, and you will have access to the system as well. Okay. So the first thing, and this was the target, I mean, one of the important points of this session is for you all to access the system. So how are we going to access the system? In our case, for the training environment, we will be using these URLs that you can see on the screen, loginbrit.umoja.un.org. Now, for your access to production, you will go as usual to login.umoja.un.org, and then you will have to click on Umoja BPC BF, budget formulation. Okay. Then you will have we'll have a login screen, and then we can access the summary model, where we will have the summary forms, or the position model. Okay. Again, this is training environment because we are explaining to you also for the exercises, and then we will do a demo, and I'm going to ask you to go to production, so you test your own credentials. Okay. So you can see if you have any issue. After selecting the proper model, if it's a summary of the position, you should enter your username and password. Okay, and then from here, basically you will have to click on open, and then open server input form folder. All right. And then you will get a list of forms, and you will select the one that you want to open. Okay. So yeah, this is, I mean, speaking about how to log into a system doesn't add much value. So what we are going to do now, and Daniel is going to give you a short demo on the process to log in, basically to the training environment, and after that, I will ask you to try it into production. Okay, so I'm going to make Daniel presenter now. So he's going to share his screen and take it from there. Thank you, Daniel.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hear me well? Okay. So welcome to the WebEx session.
Daniel. 1 second, yes, Daniel, they cannot hear you.
Is it okay now?
No. 1 second to see what is going on. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
And from the panel, can you speak now, Daniel?
Yes. Hello?
No.
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. So can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Perfect. Sorry for the interruption, but sometimes the bandwidth is not where I like. So welcome, as I was saying, welcome to the WebEx session. Now we're going to, let's say, break the demo into several tranches. The first one is how to log in into the tool itself. So as David was explaining before, the URL changes slightly. It's loginbrit now in order to access the training environment, let's say. So I just inputted my Unite ID, former EADMS user, and my password. Click continue, and as you can see in the slides that the presentation will be shared with you after the session, of course, there are several icons in the dashboard, in Umoja dashboard. The one that we're going to target now, it's Umoja BPC budget formulation. Okay, this is the one. Remember that we are in the training environment for BPC. So Citrix takes a bit of time to start. And remember that this is not the usual SAP layout. We're going to basically work in forms through Excel. So that's the main difference between the other modules and the one that we are targeting now. It's Excel-based forms that the ones that we're going to work with. Yes. Okay. It's taking a bit of time. If it is the first time. All right. And as David explained before, it's important that we all check our production credentials. Afterwards, you will find some time in the session so you can double check. And if you are experiencing problems in order to log in or you don't have the right access, now is the time to report that to New York or your service desk. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? This is a test. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, no, it's okay. Son test.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now once we have clicked in the BPC icon, we are redirected to the Excel form. But as you can see in the presentation before, we do have to go into the panel in the, let's say, navigation menu in the upper side of the Excel form, EPM. So EPM will give us access in this button on the upper left corner to log on into the different connectors, different servers where all the forms are stored. So how do we display all the servers and connector servers? We click on this right button on the right side, and from there we see a list of connection names. Sorry, because I clicked several times on the BPC. So connection names, we do have several of them. The one that we're going to look for is T5W. So I'm going to sort all connectors by letter. And you see we do have several T5Ws depending on the form that we may work with. We do have the material and services, military and police. The one that we're going to open now is T5W for position. So I click in OK. And from there, I will have to input my username and password. Don't worry, the username and password will be given to you as this is the training environment after the session, so you will be able to log in into the system. David, do you want me to log in with the credentials, or we shall start with the other part of the presentation? Okay, so I'm going to use training credentials. And once I log on, I will see which is the initial layout of the form for positions. So, just bear in mind that you will be given a set of credentials by mission, and from there you will be able to do and perform all the exercises. So now you see that the initial icon that it said log on before, it's now log off, so it means that I'm active.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's thank you very much. So I think we're going to start the demonstration at this moment, and we're going to give you some time. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. So thank you, because we are having we cannot hear ourselves. So okay, thank you. Yeah, what I was saying is that we're going to give you now a few minutes so you can access the system yourself. Okay. So remember, if you can give me Daniel presenter so I can remind them the steps. Okay.
It's over to you, David.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen again. So remember that you have to go to login.umoja.un.org as usual, the same way as you go to production. So please, while I'm talking, you can already do it. Go to login.umoja.un.org. Okay, actually I'm going to do it at the same time so you can see it as well on the screen. And then log in with your normal production credentials to see if you have any problem, not only if you know the system, the process, but to see if you have any problem with your user account. So you will go to login.umoja.un.org, then enter your normal credentials. So it is the IDMS account. And then once you get here, you have to go to Umoja BPC BF, budget formulation. Right, Daniel? As usual, you will have to click on launch. And after a while, a Cisco screen will open and you will see something similar to an Excel spreadsheet. So please try to access to production. And then once you manage, you can simply click on the green check that you have on the participants panel, or just say OK in the chat, whatever you prefer. So we have an idea of the problem. If you have any issue, you can write an email to us, or you can follow the regular support procedure. We will forward it to as well to Umoja team in New York. So you should see a screen similar to this one that I'm going to show now to you. Okay. I know this part does not have any added value or a big added value, but I think if you identify your connection issues soon enough, they will be able to fix it, and then by the time you will have to perform the transaction, you will be able to do it. So once you get to the Excel, okay, after you enter your user ID and your EIDMS password, and then you get to the dashboard, and then you click on budget formulation icon. Once you get the Excel that has been opened automatically, you have to go to EPM tab. This is important. You see that it's a normal Excel, but you have here EPM functionality. Okay, and then from there you will click on log on. and you can try to open either the position form or the summary form, depending on your access. So we are going to give you 5 minutes so you can try, and after the 5 minutes we continue with our presentation. Thank you. Right, thank you so much. So I've seen some of you already connected. Anyway, after the session, we are going to give you 2 exercises. One is the navigation one, so for you to practice and to access the environment, and then you can see again if it's working. So we're going to continue with the presentation, and please, if you have access problem, do not hesitate. Okay. Some people are saying that they can log on, so that's important that you raise the problem. Okay. So if you have any problem, I think an email has been sent on what is the production support channel. So, but you can always write to us if you have a problem, and then we will try to address it to Moja. Okay. Okay, some people are saying, yeah, don't worry if your mic is off, because since the audience is quite big, the WebEx is muting you all. So if you want to say something, just write it on the chat. So that's fine. Thank you so much. Okay, so assuming that we have access to the system, what are the forms that are in the scope of SPPM Release 1? So what are the forms that you as a mission will have access to, and what are their functions? So basically, it's very simple from the number of forms for SPPM, for Spatial Political Mission, because we only have 3 forms. The first one is position form, detailed position, which is POS01. This is the position form that allows basically to plan individual position in terms of grade, job, code, duty station, etc. And then you can propose actions for the staffing table that you receive. So you basically will get in the form the staffing table, and then you can apply changes, propose position actions, basically the different types you have: redeployment, reclassification, conversion, abolishment. Okay, we will see later in more detail this form, but this is just for you to know that this is one of the forms. Then we have the form that is called Summary 09. It's a summary planning. It's for basically non-position, or let's say operational costs, and allows to plan resources at the subclass and commitment item level. Very important that when we plan at as much as possible at commitment item level. For an individual cost object, okay, that could be at cost center level, fund center level, and it also provides information of the cost derived from the position planning. We will see also later in the slide how these three forms integrate or impact each other. And the third form that is within the scope of this release is the Summary 03. Okay, so basically position 1, Summary 9, and Summary 3. And this Summary 3 is a comprehensive view of the budget proposal. So it's a summary of the whole of what you enter in position 01 and Summary 09. And it's done at entity or the selected cost object, and then basically has summarized data of staffing and operational expenditures. All right, and then it allows to approve or reject the basically the internal version that you are going to be submitting. So what is the scope of this release? Is position 1, Summary 9, and Summary 3. Okay. Any question, Daniel, about these three forms? If this part is not clear, we can discuss.
Not really, but we are getting some feedback that they are logging into the training environment. And indeed, Fatos, if you do see P1W, that means that you're going to hit the connector in production, right?
Okay.
T5W, it's only for training environment. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yeah, don't worry if you try to access, but yeah, remember to test. What we want you to test is your production access. So don't go to login print, go to login.umoja.un.org. Okay. So what again still about the scope of this solution for this release. Okay. So you see on the screen the different models that are part of SPPM. So we have position model is where we are going to manage, as you see, as I told before, the position list. And then we have the travel model, material and service model, and military and police model. Okay, these three models that are for detailed planning will summarize in the summary model. So for this release, you're going to be working, your mission is going to be working on positioning model and summary model. So for now, forget about the travel model and the material and service model. Of course, you don't have, I mean, in SPMs, not sure, I don't think you have an MPU, right? So the point is, for this release, you're going to focus on position and summary model. On the position, we have position form 01. So here we have position 01, sorry for my handwriting. And then here we have summary 09, and we will see it later, and summary 03. Okay, sorry, because I'm writing with the mouse, it's a bit annoying. Okay, so, but we are going to work basically here on position and on summary. So once you get to any position form or any form on the solution, we will have to enter what is called the coding block, the BPC coding block. This is something that is probably not new to you, but you have to understand that for any form, you're going to be selected before starting the planning activity, or even before you can retrieve from the system the current picture. You have to enter the fund. In your case, it's going to be probably 10 UNA, the budget period, which will be, I think, the year 2020, right? And the cost object. The cost object will identify the cost object will identify your what we call sub-entity, and basically you're going to be selecting your fund center. And then you will have content that we will show later, and the version. Okay. Now, once we go to the system, I think it's much easier to explain the coding block, so don't worry. What it's really important is that on the version side, you see on the left screen, you see version that it says approved. This version, it's important for you to understand that this is the status, possible status of the version. So it's kind of workflow. Without being a normal system workflow that you're familiar with in ECC, but there is a version management. So when you enter your first internal proposal, you will have to do it in version L1. So whenever you access the form, if you are a planner, even if it's for position or non-position, you're going to be working at version L1. Okay, this version L1 later will be approved and will be converted to the L2. And then from there on, we'll go all the way, okay, through the Central Budget Office review of PPFBD, and then Secretary General report, advisory bodies, okay, ACABQ, the fifth committee, etc., etc. So you're going to be working on L1, and then if you are reviewer or approver, you will be approving L1, which will release L2, will unblock L2, okay, which is the entity proposal, the submission by the head of the office. But for you as an audience, most of you, when you start the form, we're going to be working with L1. Okay, do you understand this part? Is there any question about the versions? So basically, to simplify the message, you are going to start using L1. Very simple, right? I know most of you or some of you attended the training, in-person training, so probably you know this one, but the rest of the people, because we have over almost 100 people, in a nutshell, remember that you're going to work with the L1 version, and then the document will be approved later and later and amended if required, and all the way up to L8. Okay, remember L1 for you. Okay. Okay, remember not to share a video on the screen, okay, because then it's not good for the bandwidth. Then regarding in the content block, the content section, okay, you will see the different options. Typically, you're going to start from the continuous scope or scale, but then we'll have different options there for the changes. This is, I think, is better if we see it in the system. Okay, with regard to the change, to the type of change, and then you will see also, I think, in the summary form, okay, it can be the changes and let's say the proposal can be recurrent or non-recurrent. So if it's recurrent, basically the system understands that these activities are expected to continue in the future periods, which is not very critical at this point because it's the first time that we are using the tool. But then in the following years, if you are marking them as recurrent, they will be pre-populated. If it's not recurrent, it is only to happen one time, then it should appear as non-recurrent. Okay. Yeah, about the hierarchy of the cost objects. So this is something that is more or less simple, and it looks more complicated than it is. So again, once we go to the system, you will see it better. But you have to understand that we have entities and sub-entities. Okay, so you will have basically the fund centers or the cost centers that you know, or even let's say WBS, if there is anything you have to budget for it, at sub-entity level. It is important. This is more important for tomorrow for the summary forms, but at least you know you have a structure where you have sub-entities that are basically at the level of the cost center or the fund center, sorry, and then you will have entity with this consolidated information. Okay, you have entities, sub-entities, and the base members. Okay. So with regards to the commitment item, this is nothing new. You already know it because you have been working with budget logging than I do. And you have the commitment items, which is the lowest level of the hierarchy. And then you will have subclasses and classes. So you have the budget class, is the parent node. Then we'll have subclasses, and then we have commitment item. So it's important as well that, and also I think there was a question from Abdul recently to Benoit, that you remember that the subclasses and the classes may be different if you are working with variant 20 or variant 10. So if you are with 10 UNA, so that's important. And then with the message from New York is please, as much as possible, try to plan the budget at commitment item level. Okay, I think that for that you can also check the budgetary instructions from the controller. But our purpose on this slide is to explain to you that you have the commitment item hierarchy, which has the class, subclass, and the commitment item. Okay, nothing new again. And regarding the job code hierarchy as well, so okay, that is self-explanatory as well. Now you have the international staff and local staff, and then you have the different categories, okay, and grades, and then you will have the position. So I think it's better if we go to the next slide. That is very important. Okay, so please pay attention to this slide.
Just two things. First, check your chat, because as David was speaking, I'm just putting the main points, so you can just follow the presentation and the points in the chat. And do send your questions to all panelists. So it's not David and myself monitoring the questions and answering them right away. Thank you. Over to you, David.
Manette is close to 55. Right? She survives 2020, which is challenge. She got to wait. Then she has to wait another 2 years. Hello? Yeah. Okay, 2:30. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
You see some comments in the chat. Please mute yourself, Carlos, and some other attendees.
Sorry, can you hear me now? So probably, I think it was the microphone was muted and you could not hear me properly. So what I was saying is that this slide is very important for you to have an overview of what is the scope and also how the forms relate to each other. So sorry, because I think the microphone was muted and you could hear me only through audio. So I was saying that you have MPU forms, material and service, and travel model that are not part of this scope. That's why you see them on the slide grayed out. But we do have position form, position model that is going to be active, and you're going to enter there the staffing. So that's why you see position that is blue, and then we have summary form 09. The summary form 09 has a consolidated or a summarized information of all the models. Okay, so since we are not going to use travel, material, and service, and MPU is not for this audience. So since you're not going to be using travel for model and material and service model, you're going to enter the information directly on summary 09. And then we'll have summary 03, which is the form that has the summarized information and will allow to review, approve, or reject the form. Okay.
Yeah, I think someone is not muted from the participants. That's why it's making a bit difficult for
okay, let me mute them all.
Let us just in 2 minutes mute you all in case someone is muted.
Okay. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, they're saying that it's better now than
Okay.
don't.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, what I was saying is, if you see the slide that you have in front of you right now, you see highlighted what is going to be in the scope of this release: position, summary 9, and summary 3. And then, important at this point that you understand that the information that is typically entered or should be entered in the future in the travel material and service model MPU is going to be entered at summary 09 model. Please pay attention, because even from an intuition point of view, one would tend to think that summary 3 goes before summary 9, but it's not the case. So you will enter, okay, if you have the role of the non-position planner, so please pay attention if you are non-position planner. If you're not position planner, you're going to work on the section highlighted in red in summary 09. You are going to enter the proposal on summary 09. If you are position planner, it's easier because you're going to work on the position form. Is this clear? So check your role. If your role is non-position planner, you will do it in summary 09. So write it down, summary 09, if you are non-position planner. If you are position planner, you will do it on the position form. And then all this information, and that's why you're going to see now that travel model, material and service model, and MPU, they disappear for you. Okay, so you only work on position and summary 09. So we don't care about travel model, material and service. I know you received training in the past on this one, and this is going to be important down the road, but for this mission, you will work on summary 09. And then this information from position goes to summary 03 and goes to summary 09. So whatever position planner will be entering in the position form is going to be visible on summary 09 and is going to be visible on summary 03. Is this clear? Do you understand what I mean? So what you're going to enter in position will be reflected in summary 09 and summary 03 in different ways that we will see later. And then whatever you enter in summary 09 as well is going to be visible in summary 03. I hope it's clear. So let's talk, okay, maybe now I give. Oh no, I'm going to explain the position form before going and showing in the system. So let's talk now only about the position form, right, Daniel?
Yes.
Okay. So let's focus now on the position form, which is this one that you see in blue. So now special attention for position planners. So the detailed position planning form allows the user to plan changes on the staffing table. That is what you expected, right? So the form enables the user to make changes such as you can change the duty station, the grade, the position type. Okay, that's important. And the form also enables the user to establish new positions and abolish positions. Okay, and then once the budget is approved, the data from the form will be retracted or they will be pushed into UMOJA ECC. Okay, this is important. So pay attention. You can change duty station, grade, position type, etc. You can establish and abolish positions. So any change that you will perform in the form to the staffing table, any change that you do on the form will be classified automatically by the form to any of these position actions. So it can be an establishment, it can be an abolishment, it could be a redeployment if you're changing the org unit in the same budget control, the functional area, the duty station will be a redeployment. It could be a reclassification if you are changing the grade, or it could be a reassignment if you're changing the job family. All this is done via job code. Okay. It could be also a conversion if you're changing the position type from GTA to POS, for example, if you're changing the fund from voluntary contribution to regular budget, but I mean, that is not the most common case. Okay, or if you're changing the employee group. Okay, so those are, depending on the type of change you do, the system will classify the change as any of these position actions. You want to add something, Daniel?
Yes. So basically, we are targeting here all the modifications and changed on the current staffing list. Some attendees are wondering, what if there is no change in any of the positions in the staffing list?
So in that case, it's going to be much easier, because you will open the form will populate the current picture, and you will only have to review, confirm, and basically save the form. Okay, so if there are no changes, basically you have only to review and then confirm what you are seeing on your screen, right? Because what you're going to submit is what you see on your screen. There are other type of changes that are non-budgetary. Okay, for example, there are other type of changes that will not have impact. For example, if you're impact in terms of budget, if you're changing to a different cost center within the same functional area, those changes you can also reflect them. Or if you're changing the org unit with the same budget control. Okay, what is also important, once we go to the form, you will see that the job code that is you are going to do this by selecting job codes. Okay, if you select a job code that stays with the same grade and the same job family, that's a change from the position point of view, obviously, but it's not a change that it will not impact the budget. Okay, and then you will also see how this is affecting the form. And then these changes will be reflected in the system as a change. Okay, this like the previous one. Okay, unlike the previous one, that are establishment, abolishment, redeployment, reclassifications, reassignment, and conversions. If you are not affecting the budget, the system will classify them as change. Okay, this is something that you are going to also, we'll give you the option to play with the system, and you can see it also in the demo. Okay, the next point, that is only the one before we go to the system. It's very important, because there are some changes that you will see that are highlighted in red and marked for review. When does this happen? So if you are proposing a change that will generally not be allowed, for example, because you are changing the grade and the job family at the same time, according to the rules, this will require it's like an exception, right? This is not a common scenario. So there are certain business rules that the system will mark, and the position change proposed will be marked for review. It does not mean that it's not possible. It's only a flag to this change, so to simplify or help the reviewer and the approver to pay attention to these ones, right? So if these changes will generally not be allowed, it does not mean that it's not possible, but maybe they have to be managed as exception, right? Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I think in the once you are playing around with the staffing table, and do you change, let's say, the job family and the code of the job, and the system is going to put in red color in font those stuff that has to be reviewed, right?
Exactly. That's it, Daniel. That is a good summary. So coming back to the slide where we said you can change things in the different fields in the position, and the system will mark them as establishment, or abolishment, or redeployment, or reclassification, or reassignment, or conversion. But if you change something that is not generally allowed, we'll mark it as for review. Okay? And if what you're changing is not impacting the budget, it will mark it as a change. Okay? So this is a good summary. When we will send this presentation, of course, we will send this presentation, of course, at the end of the session, together with the job aids, so you can have these slides as a reference for you. Okay? So, if there are no, is there any question about the presentation itself, about the topics? So let me summarize.
So far,
this is the important slide. Remember that you're going to be acting in some fields, and the system will classify the change, and then if it can be for review. So if there are no questions, then I'm going to the system to have to make the demonstration.
Yeah, I think it's much better. When did you see the tool itself and how it behaves, then I think that the questions will arise.
Okay. Do we need to have a short break, or it's fine? Right?
We may want to have a 5 minutes break, so
okay.
Our attendees can just take 2 minutes to just walk around.
Okay. And also, okay, I will leave during the break this slide, so you can have an idea of what we are going to see. So let's have a 5-minute break before we go to the system, because I've been talking for a while, so then it's better for you, so you can focus better when I perform the actions in the system, and also my voice can rest 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. So be back, please, in 5 minutes. So at basically in 5 minutes, I will put a timeout so you can see when we come back. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Please, yeah, come back to the screen. And what, Daniel, is there any question that anybody else asked any question during the break?
Yes, thank you, Fatos. I see you very active during the WebEx. We appreciate that. Yes, he's okay. I mean, he understands that the change usually affects normally for redeployment, reclassifications, or reassignment. But he would like to know what would be the course of action for abolishment or establishment of new positions. Will these two go for review or not?
Okay, so yeah, I think again that is better if we show the behavior in the form. But in the form itself, when you get the list of the staff, you have an area as well to establish positions or to abolish. All the changes are marked. Is when we set for review. I mean, the whole form goes for review and for approval. No? Well, when we set for review, it's basically because it has a special flag that and is highlighted in red. So abolishments and establishment of positions will be there in the form, and then of course it goes for review and approval. Okay, they are not highlighted as special things. Anyway, so okay, I hope you can see my screen. So now I'm going to the system, and we are going to log in the training environment. The idea for the next minutes is to see this position form. Okay, I will try to explain it slowly, and then later we'll send you some exercises for you to play around, and yeah, we will remain available for 1 hour and a half. I will remain available, so in case you have any question more practical, we can see and discuss. So as Daniel said before, we click on my BPC budget formulation, and then I'm going to open the system. So this is the Excel sheet that appears automatically, and we have to go to EPM, and then I will log in. So we get this pop-up, as Daniel said before, and then we click on this button here to select the model. Sorry, I went to production. 1 second. Sorry, I didn't want to go to production. I don't want to start playing around with the stuff in tables in production. So let me open a new window. Anyway, I don't have permission, so. But I don't want the Secretary General to call me asking me why I'm establishing new P5s and P4s all around the world. Login brind.umoja.un. Okay, so again, this one is the real training environment. Actually, I don't know if I'm recording or I stopped the recording. Okay. So those are my credentials for the training environment. You see the look and feel is pretty similar, and then I go to UMOJA BPC BF.
While you are logging in, Fatos is sorry if we didn't interpret very well your first question, but he is asking again on basically if there is some changes in terms of redeployment, reclassification, or reassignment of a particular post. He's asking, is it better to abolish post and establish a new position, or if we do affect if we reflect these three changes, who is going to review that? So meaning that is it better to abolish the position and create a new one, or is it better to redeploy or reclassify a position, and who is going to review that part, and by whom?
I mean, the people that will be reviewing the changes, they have something important, right? So whoever got the reviewer approval role will be reviewing that one. It's only a flag for your internal, I mean, it's to help you to pay attention to in the process. Now, the question if it's better to do abolishment and establishment instead of the other change, this is purely a business question. So I wouldn't know what to tell you, right? In the system, you can do both, but if the system is not going to stop you. So if the change requires an abolishment, or is basically from the business point of view an abolishment and an establishment, you can do it, right? I guess the question is more a business position question. So if you want, we can take it offline and then discuss with the business owner in New York. If you have doubts about a particular change that could be understood as an abolishment and establishment, or a full change, then just send us a separate email, and we involve the business owner, and they will provide guidance.
Yeah, because initially I would say that is from the budget point of view is not the same, right? To redeploy, reclassify, or abolish a post. So is it better to? I think we think it's much better to just take it to the budget or to the business itself in case that you have any doubt in the staffing list, because this part is obviously is critical. Over to you.
Okay, so yeah, I finally managed to access to the training environment. So I have to enter my credentials. And then, as Daniel said, we have to click here to select the model. In this case, we are accessing T5W, which is the training environment. And then to access the position form, we have to click on position and plan. Okay. In your production, you will not be selecting T5W, but will be selecting P1W, I think, right, Daniel? The production, yeah, P1W. But so don't get confused with the T. This is only because it's a training environment. So we double click on the position form, and then we enter the username and the password. Now for this scenario, I'm selecting a particular entity, but again, do not get confused, because this is only for the staging data that I need to show to you. Okay, you can imagine that you are seeing your own entity data. So I have logged into the position model. Okay, now I have to open the position form 01, and to open it, I have to go to click on open. And this is something that you should also try in production. If you are position planners, you have to go to open, and then click on open server input form folder. This one, yeah. So it's open server input form folder. And then we have the first one, which is our POS01 detailed planning. Okay, position 01. And we double click on it. So the system will take a bit of time. Okay, so this is the form. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see it. You can always hide this panel on the right side because it's a bit annoying and it's taking part of the screen. The first section, it's very important that you distinguish between these two sections. You see first the first table, let's say the tail position planning. This is where you're going to enter the coding block. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Everything is okay. And then this second area will have the list of positions. Now you see a lot of lines with red messages because we have not selected anything. So the first thing you have to do is to select your coding block. So your sub-entity information regarding to your fund and your fund center. So I'm going to select now the fund. To do that, you have to double click on the fund input field. So let me do it again because I did it very quickly. You see here fund. We will double click on what you see here now, 10 UNA, because it came by default. And the system shows you a pop-up message, a pop-up window basically. Okay, we have to select our fund code. In this case, it's 10 UNA. So we highlight the line and we click on OK. And the fund is selected. Now we have to select the cost object. Okay. So to select the cost object, we double click on the value that says CONR, cost object non-relevant, but we want to select our entity cost object, our sub-entity cost object, which is going to be a fund center. So here in our scenario, we get the breakdown for our, let's say, sub-entity. And in my case, I'm going to select this one. Okay. Everything fine, Daniel?
Yes, there are questions on the people not having the access into production, stuff like that. So I mean, they are in parallel doing the work in their own computers. But yes, guys, only bear in mind that we are now in T5W in the training environment in BPC. Over to you.
It's good if you find any problem accessing production, so take note of that. And then after the session, I will remain available and we can discuss how to proceed. Okay, but do not miss the demonstration, like getting frustrated with the access, okay? Because sooner or later you are going to have the access properly mapped, and then hopefully sooner. So we selected the fund, now we are selecting the cost object. We double clicked on it, and we selected this fund center. Here is where you should find your fund center. When you get this type of pop-up windows, you will see only the code of the cost object, but you can and it's recommended to click on display. So apart from the code, you can see also the description. Okay, so you can identify better your sub-entity. For my scenario, I'm going to select this office. Okay, then we have to check the budget period. Okay, it's already defaulted to 2020, but if we had to change it, again, we double click on it, the system brings a pop-up window, and we will select the one we want to plan for. So for this exercise, for this demonstration, I'm selecting 2020. And then the version. All right, for the version, again, you double click on it. What version do we have to select? So again, the system brings a pop-up window. And in our case, we are going to select internal proposal, L1. All right, this is something that we mentioned before. So we selected fund, we selected cost object, which is identifying the sub-entity. We have selected the period. Version is L1, and our unit is total. Okay, so once you have selected your coding block, and only after that, you click on refresh, and the system is going to bring the list, the staffing list, right? The list of positions. I mean the position list for that coding block, and you will take it from there if you have to apply changes, establish positions, or abolish them. Hopefully, we will be only establishing positions.
Yeah, it's coming back to Fato's question before. So, if once you see the staffing list populated, and if you don't see any changes to be applicable in that staffing list, you just save, and that's the only thing you have to do. The work comes when you have to apply changes to the staffing list in redeployments, reclassification, establishing positions, stuff like that. Over to you.
Thank you, Daniel. So now the system will take a few minutes to retrieve all the positions. And so basically, I want to remind you what we did. We were here entering the coding block. So we selected the fund and UNA, the budget period was 2020, the cost object was selected as well. And the version that we selected was L1. Okay. And content was continuing, let's see, which means that there was already a budget before, and then we are continuing. Okay. And then we will apply changes. Yes, Daniel?
Yeah, a question from Khalid. Thank you, Khalid, for your feedback. He's wondering whether we can check previous approved staffing table. So let's say that we're going to a forecast for 2020. If we want to take a look at the previous approved staffing table, can we do it in BPC?
You can try. I'm not sure the data migration process how has gone, or if they brought already the information. Yeah, in theory it should brought to the system, but this is very simple to check. No, when you go to production, instead of selecting 2020, just select the previous one and click on refresh. Okay, even if you are in production, if you are only clicking on refresh, you will not break anything. This is important for you to understand, and maybe I have to mention how these two buttons work. Okay, you have two buttons: refresh buttons and save button. Refresh button means refreshing your spreadsheet. Refreshing your spreadsheet in terms of data. So if you click on refresh, what the system is going to do is to read your coding block, and then we'll go to the system and ask for the data referring to this coding block. So whenever you click on refresh, your list of positions will be populated with the data from the system. It's only when you click on save. It's only when you click on save that you are sending something to the server, something to the database. So this applies to this form and any other form in BPC. So refresh will not save. Refresh is only refreshing your spreadsheet, your local spreadsheet. Save is sending data to the database, to the system. Okay, and then recalculate is for something that you will see on the right side of the screen. It will show you. Okay, so if to be honest with you, at the deployment and the data migration level, I'm not sure. I would tend to think that they are not. I mean, they are visible in ECC, but not necessarily in budget formulation. Okay.
If I may chip in, I guess that let's say if we're going to plan for the following year, what the system is retrieving as data in staffing table, I guess that will be the last approved staffing table. So if you want to just take a look at it, if you want to take a look at what's approved in your mission or in your call center, just take a look at whatever is retrieved from the system, and that would be the starting point. Yeah,
that's a good point. The only difference would be if there is any position that is not considered as recurrent and it was only 1 year. But yeah, that's a good. Actually, that's the point of the form, no? That you retrieve the situation that was approved for the past year. So you see, after clicking on refresh, I got this list, and I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see it better. So in this list, we have the current situation, and you have a number of columns. You have functional area, which is linked to the cost object. Okay, the cost object will be your cost center, the description of your cost or your fund center, the section, which is the entity, the control unit and org unit, which is related to the post itself, the duty station, the title, which is derived from the position, the fund, the type of position, the position ID, and then the count, which is the number of posts that are for this position, and the effective date. Okay. Then you will have position action and system position action, which are more related to the changes, and the content, and then the cost. So before you get confused and you start asking, why in this list that I just populated, why I see already something for review? Because this is training environment and I was playing around with some of the, we played around with the data before. Okay, I don't know why now the screen got a bit blurry. Let me just refresh.
While we are refreshing, David, some of our attendees are asking whether we can really export this staffing table into Excel itself. This is Excel, but it's within the framework of BPC. Can we export this data into a real Excel file?
Well, that's something I will have to try, but I think, yeah, maybe you can just copy the text and paste it outside. Yeah, I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't tried because I don't see a reason to export from Excel to Excel. Yeah, with that something, can we take note of that? So after the session,
I just took note of that. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So after the session, I try. Okay, I don't see it. I don't know if you see it properly on your screen, but I see it a bit grayed out, but I have to continue. Okay. I hope you can read it. So this is the staffing table, and then you have another area that says establishment of position or abolishment of budgetary position. This is important, and when we touch the point of the abolishment, I will explain you why there is an area for that. Okay, and then this is inward redeployment. So how does this formula works? Basically, you're going to be acting in the fields that are blue, okay, the fields that are blue, and the fields that are gray are not to be changed. So if you have to do, for example, a redeployment, okay, let's say that we have one position that is in the duty station Geneva and has to move to another location, for example, let's say, I don't know, Entebbe, for example. So we will go to the duty station. No, you have to perform a change on the duty station. We go to Geneva, to the duty station field. We double click, and the system will show a list of locations or duty stations. Okay, so you can, as usual, when you get the pop-up window, you can search. So if we search by to find Entebbe, we can select it, or Valencia, whatever. So we select on Entebbe, we select the line, it gets highlighted in blue, and then we click on OK. So you see now in the form, where it used to say Geneva, now as duty station it says Entebbe. And if we scroll to the right a bit to the right, you see this word was not here before. It says now redeployment. So I changed the duty station from Geneva to Entebbe, and the system automatically said, wow, this is a redeployment. So you don't have to say it's redeployment, the system knows it because you're changing duty station. What you have to enter, and this is highlighted in red for your attention, is the content column, where you will basically indicate the reason of the change. So if you try to save it like this, it will give you an error. It will tell you you are doing a redeployment, but you are not specifying anything. Because if it's continuing SCE, it should be the same, but you are changing, you are doing a redeployment. So you have to double click on the field, continuing SCE. And then again, we get the pop-up with the options. So we are doing a redeployment from Geneva to Entebbe, and then we can say, for example, it's reform the course or the new content. So it's not a continuing action, is a change because of a reform. So once you change it, any change you do is highlighted in yellow. And that's it. You can see here on the right side of the screen the cost implication of our change. So you have on the right side, you have a proposed cost for every position that we have in the form. All right? And on the left, you have the approved cost, probably because I think this form was approved and then rejected, whatever. But the proposed cost was the initial. Then you will have the cost implication of the change, and then you have the approved cost. Yeah, the column is basically telling you what is the result. So what did I do? Let me summarize. I came to the duty station and I changed something. The system automatically recognized these changes in redeployment. We entered in the content column reform, and now the system is telling you that the cost that was before 188976 now has been reduced, and the proposed cost now is 0. Okay, so this was the approved cost, probably is what Daniel said about the previous year. This is the implication of our change, and the new proposed cost for this position is 0. Why? Because we are sending it to a different location, right? But even though probably in the training environment we'll have to check, because now maybe it's not populating the cost because we don't have the salary scales on Intel. Okay, but anyway, the message is that you are only changing the duty station, and the system is automatically selecting the type of action. You identify the the content, and then the system calculates the cost. Okay, now in production, I'm not sure if this code will be reduced to 0 or we will see the same amount, because I'm changing to a different duty station. Okay, this is one change. What if we do another one? Let's say that we want to do a reassignment. So let's say that we are changing. Daniel, any question about the?
Yes, Atos was asking whether the content, the field content, can be editable, meaning that is it limited to the options that are displayed?
Yes, yeah, it's limited. So the fields that you see here that are in blue, and this is, again, thank you for the question, because that brings me to a very important point. You don't have to insert, you don't have to write in the fields. Okay? Every field that you see in the form, if you see on the top bar, it has a function. There is code behind the form for the form to behave properly. So whenever you see the blue thing, you double click on it. If there is a function, the system will pop up the window. If there is no, and it's only free text, you will get the control on the field. So always whenever you want to change something, just double click, and then you get the list. So here you have, this is training environment. Not sure if in the production it's exactly the same thing, but new mandate, downsizing, GSDM, reform, section, whatever. Okay, but you cannot write there directly. Okay, so we did one. What we did, a redeployment. Let me do now a reassignment. Okay, let me just find another position, and then we are going to change the title, but we will maintain the same level. Okay, I think also the content, and then we will see, because I think depending on the type of action, maybe the content drop down may change. So let me go to, for example, to a P3. Okay, this is another position. It's a P3. Are you with me? May I have your attention? I'm going to explain another type of movement. Change, sorry. So if I want to change the category, the title of this post, but I want to maintain the category as a P3, category and grade as a P3. I double click on it. So do not go and write on the title directly. So I double click, and I get a pop-up with the position hierarchy. And then I'm going to select, for example, another P3. Okay, let's see. All right, so it was a P3, and I don't remember even what position I changed. So it was this one, but I don't remember the title. But I changed to a P3 that says drug control and crime prevention, something. So the system automatically marked it as reassignment. You see, I only changed, double-clicked on the title, and I selected a different position, and the system changed it to reassignment. And now again, it's asking me to enter in the content column to select from the list of options. Okay. Now you have reform, UCN, downsizing, whatever. You can select whatever you want. I mean, basically the reason of the change. And then we see on the right side the impact on the cost. Okay. Which in this case, if we are maintaining category grade, there is no impact. Okay, Daniel, is there any question about this reassignment?
Sorry, yes, sir.
With the microphone. Is there any question?
Yeah, Khalid is asking if we could give an example of an upgrade of the staff, the level of the staff, and if the job title is going to be changed or not, as well as the UMOJA job ID.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, if it's I mean, when you're referring to an upgrade, I understand that, for example, we have a P2 here, or let's say a P4, and you want to change it to a P5, right? So basically the process will be the same as before, but you have to select the proper one. So when you double click on it, the system will give you the pop-up, and then you have to find here the proper P5. So you, for example, you can filter by P5. Okay, and then you can find the right one. Okay, you can filter in this way, or you can navigate through the hierarchy structure. So what I think is important is that we select if it remains under let's say under the same family. So you will have to navigate through the structure and find it, or if you have already let's say the job code. Okay, if you have the job code, you can get it from organizational management. You can search by the job code. Okay.
We have questions in terms of navigation as well. Thank you, Rodney, for your questions. First of all, he's wondering whether he can use normal Excel commands in order to undo any change made by a mistake, or cut or copy and paste cells as we usually do in the spreadsheets.
Yeah, you have to. Okay. Let me just, by the way, select a P5 before going ahead. There are some commands that work the same as Excel, okay, but not all of them. Okay, so we can try, but normally I would tend to think that not necessarily, because there is some logic there. So think that you are executing a macro. So for example, I'm doing now control set, and it's not doing anything. Now, if you are entering maybe text, maybe it's possible. Let me try. Because I haven't, so you see justification here. No, it's not undoing what I did. So there are some functions that are limited, because remember, you are not in a normal tab. You are in a spreadsheet that has a lot of functionality.
Okay, I think as you go through the demonstration, David, I think it's important to underline what means when you refresh and what means when you save from the system point of view, because we have some questions on do we save before and refresh in order to start stuff. So it's important that we do give the message as some questions there. I think it's not clear enough so far.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so for example, if you remember, when I accessed the form, I selected the coding block and I clicked on refresh. This is the first thing that you do. Again, I don't like the name of this button. It's called refresh, but to me, it's only downloading data from the system. Okay, so you are downloading your staffing table. So the first time you access the form, you click on refresh. Then from now on, you enter your changes, and I click on save. For example, if I click now on save, the system is going to tell me that I'm going to save a number of changes. So I just click on save. It's waiting for a while. So please write it down. Refresh. It's only getting data from the system, so you can see it. Okay, now it's complaining because it doesn't let me save, right? Because I have a red message here that I have to amend. Okay, refresh is basically getting data from the system. So it's refreshing your spreadsheet, what you have in front of you. Once you do changes, you have to click on save. If you don't save, next time that you click refresh, you will get again from the system the original picture. Okay, so let me continue with the rest of the changes that I want to do in this demo, and then I will click on save. Okay, for now, I think I did one reassignment and one redeployment, right? Reassignment and redeployment. What if we have to do an abolishment? If we have to do an abolishment, unfortunately, it's in the system is very simple. So if we, for example, and please do not take it personal. I hope I'm not selecting the post of anyone that is here in the WebEx. Okay. So if we take this one, for example, this position, and it's going to be abolished, we only have to go to the line, go to the count that says 1, so it means there is one D1, and if we insert here a 0, there will not be this position anymore in the table, and the system understands it as an abolishment. Okay, as usual, and as I explained before, we have to go to the content, double click on it, and then select the reason. So for example, this could be, I don't know, a downsizing case. But you see, we are only acting, just for you to pay attention, we are only acting on the columns that contain information, and the system is automatically saying, okay, this is an abolishment. And the impact in the cost is immediately. So the approved cost was 373, and now we are reducing totally the cost to 0. And in this moment, it's when I have to explain something that appears in the section below. Since the system designers and the business analysts, they understand that when you have to do the abolishment of a position, it's a very sensitive action, right? Because it may imply immediately that the person that is sitting in this position particularly may lose the job or something. So there are two ways of doing that. You can do it in a particular position, or you can do it as a generic position. So you can go to the section. If you have to abolish, for example, a P3, a P4, or any post particularly, instead of doing it here on the main area where you have all the particular job IDs, okay, you see position IDs. Instead of selecting the position ID particularly and say we are abolishing these position IDs, you can go to the area which says generic position and select the title without the generic ID, okay? And then, so let's say that if we're going to do the same example on the generic side. So I selected, it was what, so if we don't want to do it here, we leave it as 1. It was D17279, okay? So we select the same title, we double click on the line, and then we say 7271. Sorry.
Yeah, just if I may, David,
yes.
This part, it's the member selector is called in BPC. Regardless the forms, you will be able to look up for a specific master data element, and as David is doing right now, you can look for a job description or a particular code. So this is pretty much works like in some other tool, but especially if you're looking not only for a position for a particular code center, so it will be a list of records, and from there you can look up for a particular one. Over to you.
Okay, so yeah, you basically you will find it here. I mean, and just okay, 7271. I don't know why right now it's not. Maybe I have to write the full text. D1. Right, if I search like this, is finding it 7271. So you will find the right one. Okay, yeah, maybe I took a bad example, but yeah, because yeah, that is a training environment, so I don't know if I have the full list. Okay, so yeah, actually that's it, no? Okay. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So you select the same title basically. Don't get confused now about the data, because yeah, the training environment is not normally as well maintained. But what is important is that you select the title, then you're not selecting any position ID. So you are not saying, I mean, maybe D1s there are not so many, no? But if you are doing a P3, if it's a P3, then you are doing it in a generic way. You are not specifying anything, and then here you are saying that it's the abolishment, okay? So this is only the generic position. So anyway, when you're doing it, we can just if you do it in production and you need any assistance, you want to do it in a generic way, you can go and check as well the job aid, and we can also assist. So okay, let me go back to this scenario where I was doing it in this way. We had the abolishment. Downgrade as well is the same. I mean, as we say, let me just open the presentation to see what scenarios we have covered, if we are missing anything. So we have the list of, yeah. So as we have seen in this, we are missing an establishment, right? So we go to the form again. So for the establishment, we have a new position. Okay, we only have to select enter here on this area, right, Daniel? And we select the characteristics of the new position. So basically we have to come here and say as well, okay.
Yeah, it's important to underline the fact that if we want to establish a new position, we have to do it in the bottom part of the staffing table for those specific five fields where you can establish the lines.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, sorry, I was checking something. So yeah, I'm going to establish a new position. Okay, so for example, we go to this area as Daniel was saying. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was checking something because when now the system is okay, the pop-up is here. Okay, we are managing two screens and sometimes the pop-up comes somewhere else. So let's establish a new position. Okay, and now we'll come back to the abolishment of the generic position because I think I did not explain something properly, so I will repeat it. So we want to enter, for example, the P3, whatever position. Okay, this one. Okay, and then you can say here how many positions as well. For example, you can say 2. Okay, and it's an establishment. Okay, this once you save, it will appear automatically on the main area of the form. Okay, we will select the reason again. So let's say that, for example, this is something new mandate. So I select it. I think it's not changing yet. Let me just select again. Okay, I'm selecting now reform to see if it goes through. Okay, here you have it. Okay, so this is establishment. Reform, establishment, we are establishing 2 P3s of civil affairs officers. Okay, so basically, for establishment, you will do it, as you said, there was a question before that made a lot of sense. Okay, establishment is not a change in an existing position, no? So you will enter it here. In this area, you have lines that are pre-populated with information, but it's only to give you room to enter. So if you see, wherever you see the line but there is nothing here, this will not have any impact. If you enter a number, then you will be establishing position if it's a positive number. Now, if this is an establishment, if it's an abolishment, let me repeat again. If it's an abolishment and you are going to abolish a particular position ID, you do it here. If you want to abolish in a generic way, as said before, you have to come here to this area to select the title, okay? And then, very important, in the count, instead of a 0, as we are doing here, you are doing in a generic way, so you have to enter a negative number. Okay, -1, you will be abolishing 1 position. Okay, sorry, because when I did it before, I didn't enter the -1. So, on the generic area, generic positions, if you enter minus, you are doing abolishment. If you enter positive amounts, you are doing establishment. Is this better? Is it clear now? Did I explain it better, Daniel?
Yes. Thank you, David. I mean, we know you are struggling with the boy, so if you think it, I mean, we have several questions related to the full review because a couple of attendees are wondering, you know, why we have red elements all of the sudden in the staffing table. If you can just go real quick on what means this for review or this red font, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So very good question. Thank you for helping me. So because this is what I wanted to cover right now. Remember, changes for review. When do we expect to see for review? So if we are doing 2 changes at the same time, that maybe do not go together typically. For example, if we're changing the grade and the job family at the same time, the system should mark them for review. So I know you see 2 that are for review already because we have been playing around, but let me take a brand new post. G4, team assistant. Okay. So let's say that we take this position and, as usual, we double click on the title, we get the pop-up. So in this, and we say this position that used to be a G4 becomes a G5 and a completely different family. Okay, what happens now? Oh, this one. Yeah, this one becomes a change because I didn't change. Because maybe general service there is not the same, because for the budgeting is the same, so I have to do it with API stuff. Okay. Sorry, so I take another example. So there are some business rules that the system will check and will mark it for review. I'm just trying to force the system to do another change. So I go for P4 to P5 and I take a different job family. You see, this one was marked for review automatically. It was a P4, it was in a different job family, and now it's a P5 at this section of chief of section audit. Okay, and now the system is marking for review. I will have to explain again here the reason. So it's going to be reformed, for example. So this is not does not imply that there is an error in the form. Okay, we are just saying that from the budgetary point of view, this could be an exception that has to be double checked. Okay, and then if you see in terms of cost, we had the approved cost was 289,000, and there has been an increase of 42,000. Okay, and this is the new proposed cost. So when they are reviewing, they can come to this area as well and see the budgetary impact. And then, of course, what is marked in red is for them to take a look. Okay, this one I forgot to. Yeah. This is also a good point to bring you if you are going to practice. Whenever you see on the content side a red message, you have to select, because you are telling the system that you're changing something, but you're not specifying the reason for that. So if you try to save now, if I try to save now, the system will not allow me. So I double click on the content now, and then I select reform, for example. I'm always doing reform because it's an easy one. And then the same thing here. So this is basically the form. This is the demonstration I wanted to do. Is there any question before I save? So just to summarize what I have done, if I go back to the presentation. So we have been working with the position form, because I told you for the position we are doing it at this level, and then this information will go to summary forms. And then I told you that we are going to be acting on the duty station, grade, position type, etc. And the system automatically classifies the changes as establishment, abolishment, redeployment. Okay, I accept the abolishment and redeployment are not purely changes. No, we are entering something, but the system is automatically classifying the action as establishment or abolishment, redeployment, reclassification, reassignment, or conversion. Okay, and then there are some changes that are marked for review, and this is what we have done. Okay, we came here. Let me just do a recap. We came here. We changed one position from Geneva to Entebbe. That was a redeployment. We changed some title within the same grade. It was a reassignment. Then we did an abolishment for a particular position. We did a change. We did something for review, and then we did establishment. Okay, so we covered basically all the scenarios during the demo. And now I'm going to save, and while the system is saving, we see if there are other questions.
Yes, thank you, David. As always, we do explain, how the system behaves, but the attendees, and most of them are very active. They are looking for the different casuistic that obviously it's real life that happens in the mission, like when you're trying to make two changes at the same time. Fatos, for example, is asking, what about if you change, as you did, from P3 to a P5, which is an upgrade, but at the same time, you change the location of that post? Would that be a reassignment as well, or how the system will behave in that
Yeah,
case?
you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to worry about that because you can. The good point is that you can change it. You can change it in the system. So you go, you change the station, you change the functional title, and then probably the system will mark it for review because. But it will depend on the business case or let's say the case itself. So the point is you change the duty station, the functional title, whatever you have to change on that position, and then you see the system how will it mark it. It's important as well that you have also here a column for justification. So if you want to provide details there, like if it's marked for review, you can justify, okay, this is a change of duty station as well as that. Okay, and then you can mark it, say this should be a reclassification or whatever. The system will not stop you from changing two fields at the same time, and only if it identifies this as an exception will mark it for review. Otherwise, I don't know all the business situation, what is the mapping if it's saying reclassification. But anyway, there is also a column here. So you see I changed it and the system changed it 57. If you can see my screen, it changed the 57 amendments that I did to the position table. But let me show you two columns as well.
Okay, yes, as a conclusion, as you said, regardless the business scenario, what you said from the system point of view, the system will absorb as many changes as possible to one specific line. That's the important.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you will have it mark it for review. Okay. So I wanted to show to you an extra column that appears there. Okay. So while it's coming back, there is another situation that you may have. So if you establish a position, but this is a bit advanced, so I don't know if I want to, I don't want to do the demo, so I don't want to confuse you people. But if you establish a position and then after the review, no, because I just showed the main process. So if I start getting now into exceptions, it's going to be a bit confusing, no? So if you establish a position and then down the road or after the review, you have to change it. Okay, there is a particular process in the job aid that will tell you how to do it. Basically, in a nutshell, is you have to use this column justification to mark it as delete. But just for you to know that if something happens that you don't know how to undo it, in the job aid it's detailed. So I save the data, and then this is also a typical behavior. I click on save and I save all the data. But now the system is showing me the list of empty records. What did it happen? Did I lose all the changes? No. So don't worry. If you after clicking on save you see this, don't worry, because what happened is that there was a timeout and now the coding block went back to the default status. So I didn't lose anything, right? It's just that the system locked me out at the end. So you will have to select again the coding block and that's it. Okay, so I think that's all for.
Yes, there is I wanted to take this question to the end because I see it's a bit more complex, and I don't know from the system point of view it has an impact, but I throw it on the table. And Khalid, don't worry that we will, if we cannot answer to you right away, we can just go offline. But he's wondering whether, because there are several positions like the SRSG or like the resident coordinator in the missions, that there is a shared cost with the UNDP. He's wondering whether the UMOJA team really fixed this issue that for him is quite important.
Well, I don't know. In terms of the status of the fixes, I don't know. I think that has to do with the cost assignment. So that question, please, if you can send us an email, I can copy Teresa Nicolini, and she can follow up with UMOJA team. but we are not involved in the, let's say, in the deployment as we used to do in different parts of or modules of UMOJA. In this one, we are just taking care of the training side. So thank you so much for attending the session. What I'm going to do now, if it's okay with you, I'm going to send you by email only to the deployment list of the missions a set of user IDs, and then you can share them. The only point I have to tell you, and I will put it also in the email, is please play around with the staffing table, but do not save, because you are going to be sharing credentials with other users, so you will be overwriting other users' changes, and you will, again, it will be confusing. With the users I'm going to send you, you can play around, you can change things and see the behavior of the form, how the actions are, let's say, classified, try to establish position, abolish, and play around. But yeah, do not click on save. I mean, you will not break the system if you do it, but if you click on save, you will be overwriting data, and then someone else will get confused. Okay. If only one person saves, no problem. If two people save, they will be confused. Okay. But the point for this is just to play around, and I'm going to send you one exercise for navigation and one exercise for the position form together with credentials, so you can play around, and I will remain available for the next hour or so. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience with my voice as well, and thank you, Daniel, for your contributions. And we are here to help, so do not hesitate to write us back. And I hope this was useful somehow.
Yes, thank you, David. Thank you for the effort, especially with the health of your voice. Just for the rest of the attendees who were not active in the chat, we're going to download the chat, and we're going to see whether we have missed any of the questions, and if needed, we will send it to you. And we